Right. Good morning, everybody. Lovely to have you joining us. We have an amazing lineup for you today. So I'm just going to introduce the two ladies that are going to be speaking. Jessica is first up. She's from Balancing Life Massage Therapy. She is a massage practitioner, but she's also a specialist in terms of aromatherapy. Because time is not in our favor today, I'm handing straight over to Jessica and saying, we will be here. We'll be sharing the next hour together. Would love you to, if you would like to ask any questions, please know that we'll be staying on after the session and we'll be answering your questions. And I will be muting the lines. So enjoy. Go for it, Jessica.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is great to have you all on our meeting today. So just a little bit about myself. As you can see on the screen there, those are all the therapies that I do here in East London. And yeah, so I run my own business here. I opened in 2018. And it has been a journey for me as well in terms of health and learning more about wellness. And I will share a little bit about how doTERRA actually goes with that. So the next slide, Mel, please. Right, so on the screen in front of you, you'll see how many non-communicable diseases we have, and the stats and what they're projected to be. So what they are currently, and then what they are projected to be in the future. And it is extremely shocking to see how many people have got these diseases. So for instance, the first one is diabetes. So in 2019, 19 million people were living with diabetes, and this is projected to increase to 29 million in 2030 and 47 million in 2045. I mean, that is absolutely shocking. Dementia is another one. So there are over 9.9 million new cases of dementia each year worldwide, which means that literally every 3.2 seconds there's a new case. Stress, anxiety, and depression. In 2017, they showed that there were 284 million people that were living with anxiety and 265 million people with depression. And another 50 million people are living with dementia. But that number is projected to triple by 2050 with 10 million new cases each year. And in the more severe cases, conditions such as these that have been mentioned can lead to suicide, which claims the lives of close to 800,000 people every single year. And that's excluding the ones that are actually just attempting it. So it's very sad and very, very shocking, actually. And just for you to note that in a recent poll, South Africa was voted the country with the second highest stress levels in the world. So it is no wonder that we've got so many people who are living with things such as stress, anxiety, and depression. Coronary vascular disease is responsible for 1 in 6 deaths in South Africans. There are 225 South Africans that die from heart disease every single day. Cancer, so there's 115,000 South Africans that are diagnosed with cancer each year, and 6 out of 10 is the survival rate. Now, out of all these stats, I think the most shocking fact is that these are preventable diseases. People don't have to live with these diseases. Just a note on that, there is type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes you are born with. It is an insulin problem there. Type 2 is one that you can get later on in life from your diet, from not eating correctly. So we'll move on. Right. So basically, what are essential oils? Why am I talking about non-communicable diseases, and where do essential oils actually fit in? So basically, nature is medicine. So you can use plant extracts from the roots, stems, bark, and leaves that help to. That's where we got our basis for medicine. long time ago. So way back when we would use the plants, we'd use herbs, we'd make poultices, and that would be our medicine. And natural medicine is 50 to 70 times more powerful than herbs, just to give you an indication. And as our bodies are made of the set of similar building blocks as the plants, we can actually use the oils in the same way that they would work for the plant, they would work in our bodies. So an essential oil can enter into our bloodstream in just 30 seconds and start to affect the cells in our body within 20 minutes. And because our bodies have the same building block as a plant, they can actually pass through the cell membrane a lot more efficiently than your synthetic medications. And in the next slide, what I'll do is I'll touch actually on the difference between your your over-the-counter medications and the synthetics compared to your actual plant-based medicines. And with the doTERRA essential oils, we've got scientists who are continually testing each batch of oils that come out to make sure that they are pure and that they are potent and they are free from artificial ingredients, fillers, and pesticides. So I think they undergo about 50 tests to ensure that the product is absolutely pure by the time that you get it. And the reason this is important is because, next slide. Thanks, Mel. Okay, so we'll go into the whole pyramid just now. So doTERRA essential oils versus fragrance oils. The difference here is that you have a certified pure therapeutic grade essential oil, which means that you can use them internally with the given instructions or the correct instructions on how to use the oils. Your fragrance essential oils, the ones that you buy in the shop, do not undergo any testing whatsoever. There are a numerous amount of distillation processes that you can use to extract an oil from a plant. Some of these processes do use chemicals to extract the oil from the plant, and there's no test to show that after the oil's been extracted that those chemicals have not or aren't in that actual oil anymore. So it's extremely dangerous to ingest a fragrance essential oil that you would buy at the shop internally. You will poison yourself. So please do not go buy an essential oil from a store and think that you can use it the same way that you can use a doTERRA oil, because you cannot. On top of that, the other thing that is very concerning is that since essential oils aren't actually regulated, they say that if you have about 8% pure essential oil, pure plant extract in that 15 ml bottle, you can label it 100% pure. Okay, so that's only 8% that you're getting in that little bottle that is actually pure. So the other 92% are fillers and other synthetics that mimic the plant that is in that oil. So for instance, if it's lavender, instead of pure lavender, they're putting things like lavandine with the lavender. So you're never going to get the pure benefit from that essential oil because it's not a pure product. Okay. And with the doTERRA essential oils, if you want to know what your essential oil has been tested for and what the results were of those tests, you'll see at the bottom of the bottle. So I've got one here. There's a little number. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see writing, but there's a number at the bottom there that you can actually enter onto the site and then submit it, and it'll show you the quality of your batch that oil came from. And the next slide, please, Mel. Okay, so purity means that there are no fillers or contaminants, okay? The essential oils are cold pressed or they distilled using the steam distillation, so no chemicals. And they're also extremely potent, which means that when we say potency, we mean that it has the ideal chemical profile for that particular plant in order to produce the intended therapeutic effects. In other words, they have not been mixed with fillers and other contaminants that reduce the therapeutic effect. You are getting exactly what you need out of that oil. And that brings me to basically our wellness pyramid, okay? So why am I telling you about non-communicable diseases? Why am I saying that you can use an essential oil as an alternative healthcare option. And it's basically because, as you see, in every health and wellness industry that you go into, we've got something where you need to start your foundation correctly. And you'll see there right at the bottom, the foundation is to start eating right. You need to put into your body the things that your body needs in order for you to function. And when you stop, if you start filling yourself with rubbish, your body is going to feel like rubbish. You're going to feel sluggish. Your digestive system is going to be sluggish. Your immune system is going to be sluggish. You're not going to be able to function right. You need to exercise. You need to get everything sort of just balances out your hormones as well, and it regulates. Your stress levels go down, which is the next one actually, because you need to rest and manage your stress. The lifestyle that we live in our society today doesn't allow us to get out of a stressful environment, and our bodies are taking strain from that. And you can see it because it produces itself in the illnesses and the diseases that we're getting. And the thing is, you actually need to learn how to manage that stress. How are you going to manage your environment so that you can be well and you can be the best of yourself? And then another one on top of that is to reduce your toxic load. Now, your toxic load comes from your environment. So it's basically what you're breathing in. The air we know is polluted. And also sometimes the foods that we eat have got things like pesticides on them. So you need to wash your vegetables and stuff like that. But regardless of that, some of that still gets into our system. And then it's the creams that you're putting on your skin, the makeup that you're using, cleaning products that you're using, is all being absorbed by your skin. And if you aren't healthy, if you haven't started right at the bottom there with how you're eating and detoxing, it basically just overloads your system, and your system cannot function, and you end up with illnesses and diseases and stuff. So it is important for you to reduce your toxic load, and that is where your essential oils actually also come in really nicely. So for each one of these steps, there's an essential oil that we can help you with to help with whatever it is that you're wanting to your goal at the end of the day, if I could put it like that. So it can help you to reduce toxic load. It can help towards your managing your stress. It can help you with your eating or assist in that with your body's processes. So it's basically just tying them in together, going, do I really want to take a tablet, over-the-counter medication? Please, I'm not talking about your prescription medication. You will continue taking your prescription medication, and the oils fit nicely in between there to help support your system. But instead of popping a Panado for a headache and opening yourself up to the other things that are on or in that medication, go read your cautions in all your over-the-counter meds, and you'll see that you can open yourself up to other things that can go wrong with your system, rather to use an oil that is not adulterated, that hasn't been tampered with in any way, doesn't have synthetics, and not overloading your system with toxins. So it's basically just to educate you to know that there is another option out there for you if you are wanting to go the natural route. So there we go. As nature, Mel's put on there, nature was our first remedy to lift the mind, renew the body, and heal the heart. So that's it from me. If you have any questions afterwards, then you are welcome to ask.
Thank you so much, Jess. And I know that we have another class that goes more in depth about the oils, etc. But today the focus is on our nutrition, on diet, on eating right. And so I want to say that Faranak is an amazing associate of mine. You can see she is exceptionally well educated to be able to give us exactly the type of wisdom she is going to be sharing with us today. She's a sports scientist, a food scientist, and a certified low-carb keto nutrition specialist. I've been working with Faranak for the last month, and it has been transformational for me. I'm undergoing a metamorphosis, and I know that Dalian was sharing at the beginning of the class before we started recording, sharing how much it's been a great blessing for her too to be working with Faranak. So we are both clients of Faranak, and so as you look at the transformation that's going to be happening over the next couple of months, a lot of that can be accredited to right here. So we've got the best of the best. Faranak, you can start sharing your screen and taking over, and we are so looking forward to hearing from you. And I want to say, please, we will put Faranak's contact details. You can contact her directly after the class. She is also a wellness advocate, so she understands the oils and is incorporating the oils with her health and nutrition program. So without further ado, over to you, Faranak. Okay, Faranak, we're seeing your screen, but I'm not hearing you.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
There we go. There we go.
I had to unmute myself. Hello, everyone, and lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, I think we went through the introduction, and yeah, I mean, I am so proud of Melanie and Dalian both. I mean, they are doing so great. They are so committed, and we see the basically difference and the transformation. Okay, I'm just gonna dive straight into nutrition. I think Jessica gave us a very good starting point with regards to our metabolic health. We also touched on it a bit last week, so I'm just gonna go a little bit more deep into nutrition. Okay, so with regards to what we eat, we have two different categories. We have micronutrients and we have macronutrients. So micronutrients are basically your minerals and vitamins. They are basically essential components of our diet, which we need them in a small amount. They are approximately about 53 essential micronutrients, which the body can't make those. So the only way that you can get them is basically through what you eat. They are extremely important for the proper functioning of the body. Basically, they do chemical reactions in the body, but they do not provide any kind of energy. So micronutrients are basically minerals and vitamins. Vitamins are necessary for energy production, immune function, blood clotting, and other functions. And then minerals play an important role in growth, bone health, fluid balance, and then several other processes. So the main source of basically micronutrients would be your fruits and vegetables, which we try to be as organic as possible. And then the other category is macronutrients. And then macronutrients is what we need in much bigger amounts in our daily diet. And we're just going to go through different macronutrients and what they do basically in our bodies. So the first important macronutrient is basically proteins. Our good protein sources would be your animal sources of protein. So your meat, chicken, fish, shellfish, seafood, egg, and then you get a little bit from cheese and dairy, and as well as seeds and nuts. We also have plant sources of protein, but animal sources of protein are much higher in quality, and they kind of have all different amino acids, which is the basic block of proteins. Proteins have a lot of functions in our bodies. So for a healthy immune system, you need protein because our enzymes are made out of protein. Your muscles are basically made out of protein. Then for a healthy hair and skin, you also need protein. As well as there are enzymes and hormones in our bodies, which are kind of transporting stuff in our blood system. They're also made out of protein. It can also give you energy if you really run out of other energy sources, which is carbs and fats. Protein can also give you energy if you go through the starvation mode. So protein is something that is very, very essential. You can't take it out of your diet, and we should make sure that we have certain amounts of protein for our bodies to function properly. The next macronutrient is fat. And when we talk about fat, we basically talk about healthy fats. So what would be considered as healthy fats is basically your, so the fat which exists in a natural environment, meaning the fat within your protein sources, the fat which comes with the meat, with the chicken, with your fish. So those are all healthy fats. I know they are saturated fat, but there hasn't been any process on them. They naturally exist. The other good sources of fats would be your seeds and nuts, your full cream dairy, your avocado oil, olive oil, and butter, cream. So those are the good sources of fat. And I know we all have a misconception about fat. And this is because of wrong dietary guidelines. We all have been told to stay away from fat because it is basically causing all the cardiovascular disease risk and heart disease and stroke and all that, which I'm going to go through a little bit more in details afterwards. But fat is also have a lot of functions in our body. So don't be scared of fat. And as I said, healthy fats. So I'm not talking about highly processed vegetable oils. just the healthy fat. So fat has a lot of function in our body. So what does the fat do? First of all, 25% of our brain is made out of fat, and more specifically cholesterol. So cholesterol is such an important molecule in our bodies that if you don't get it through your food, your body can actually make it. So for a healthy brain function, we need fat. So that is very important. Your sex hormones are made out of fat. Your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're all made out of fat, as well as it can give you energy. It can also basically keep you warm. So fat has a lot of functions in our body, and the energy that you can get from the fat is basically the energy that can keep you going for a very long period of time. You're never going to run out of energy. So fat is also something important. It's got vital functions in your body. You can't take it out of your diet. And then we get to the carbohydrates. So when we talk about carbohydrates, we have different sources of carbohydrates. We all know there are some carbs in our fruits and vegetables, which is a little bit different. So those are our healthy sources of carbohydrates. And we also get a lot of carbs from basically your processed carbs, which is your bread and pasta, rice, cereals, cake, biscuit, anything which tastes sweet, chocolates, ice cream. Yeah, so those are basically all different sources of carbohydrates. And carbohydrates don't really have any vital functions in the body. They only do one thing, and that's basically just to give us energy. So that is the only function of carbs. And you can get that energy from other macronutrients as well. So if you look at here, well, you see there is a long list of vital functions for protein and fat, and carbs can only do one thing, and that's basically just to give us energy. So now, if you look at nature, for example, we have animal products in the nature. And what is the animal products? When you look at a piece of meat, it's basically fat plus protein. If you look at plant-based products, it's carbohydrate plus protein. So that combination of fat and carbohydrate together is a man-made food-like substance. It doesn't exist in nature, and that is what it causes so much of issues in our bodies. So what would be the example of those combination of fat and carbs? That would be all the processed food, all your chips and basically fast food, your chocolates and cakes and biscuits, and those are basically, as well as all these refined carbs. So that is what's causing a lot of issues in our bodies. So I just want to go through this food pyramid, which most of you probably are familiar with. So this is a US dietary guideline. It came from USA in 1970s. Basically, there was two scientists which came up with a scientific review in a scientific article in a journal. And then basically they talk about all about fat and how it can cause cardiovascular disease and heart issues. And they told us basically to stay away from fat. And we've been encouraged to get a lot of our energy from the carbs. And that's where we started producing all these refined carbs and processed food and all that. So if you look at this food pyramid, as you go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top, you are basically using less and less from those whole food groups. So we've been told actually to get about 70% of our daily energy from carbohydrates. And as you can see there, it's mostly basically refined carbs. The next group is fruits and vegetables. So we've been encouraged to eat about 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. We've been told to eat about 2 to 3 servings of dairy, 2 to 3 servings of meat. And then if you look at the top, there is even sweets in there. There is even cakes and chocolates, and you see there is a little bit, and it's even more than fat. So we've been encouraged to eat a very high carbohydrate and very low fat diet. And that's where all the problems started, because we've been told to do that. And I did that when I was younger as well. I studied food science, and this is the dietary guideline that they taught us at university. Unfortunately, still now our students are being told the wrong thing. So yeah, it is quite scary because the dietary guidelines has been changed and not so many people are aware of that. So now what happens after this dietary guideline came in is basically our carbohydrate consumption went up dramatically over the time.
This was a mask.
So if you look at this, this little diagram over here, you can see that for 100,000 years, humans used to eat very little carbohydrates. It's that basically orange line at the bottom. And then this is what happened since 1970s when we started basically, when that food diary came out. So this is like we kind of make it a little bit bigger over here. So you can see that carbohydrate consumption and specifically refined carbs went up dramatically. Now, what happens after that is quite interesting, because at the same time that we started using a lot of carbs, this is a stats from USA, but the rest of the world continued the same pattern. So you can see that the obesity rate started to go up slowly. I remember when I was a child, when I was at primary school, we haven't had any overweight kids in our class. And if you look at the schools now, there are so many overweight kids at schools, and this is basically dangerous. So if you look at US, in 1970s, about 15% of the population was overweight and obese. By 2000, it is about 34% of the population, and now it is over 50% of the population. So, which is quite scary. And then 20 years after that obesity started to go up, then we have the diabetes epidemic starting, because it has got that 20 years of kind of incubation period. It takes 20 years basically of eating wrong food to develop type 2 diabetes. So this is what happened then after that. And as I said, this is basically US, but the rest of the world followed the same pattern. This is the stats from South Africa. So about 70% of women and 40% of men are overweight, and South Africa has the highest obesity rate in sub-Saharan Africa, which is quite scary. And if you look at here, so diabetes is considered to be a progressive metabolic disease. And it thought to be that it is just going to progress, you can't stop it. But with all the research and that we have done, not me, but like has been done throughout the years, and we now find out where the problem is. The problem is our lifestyle actually that caused this diabetes to happen. And now diabetes can actually be put into remission, or it can be reversed. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. It can reverse completely. So type 2 diabetes, the issue with type 2 diabetes is that they are overproducing insulin, because it starts with insulin resistance, and the more insulin you produce, the more you become insulin resistant. And that's the pathway to diabetes. And diabetes is a horrible, complicated disease. It affects every single organ in your body. It affects your nervous system, your kidneys, your eyes. You might have diabetes food, and it is just horrible. Some people go through amputation, and it's got the most horrible complication if you don't do anything about it. So every month, about 15,000 new diabetes are diagnosed in South Africa. And if we can get one patient off insulin, we can save about 120,000 Rand per year in medical expenses just for that one person. So imagine how we can change this, this over time. So that was the food diary which came. No matter how beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results of what happened after that. And this is the result. This is our human evolution. We started basically developing from gorillas and chimpanzees, and then we started basically hunting. We started eating more nutrient-dense diet. We our bodies started to develop. So 3.5 million years ago, humans used to be very short. We were about 90 centimeters tall. We weigh about 30 kilograms. And now if you look at us today, so when we started eating nutrient-dense food, and more specifically when we introduced meat to our diet, our brain size started to increase over time, and more specifically within the last 200 years, the brain size started to develop very quickly, and that's basically because probably we introduced seafood to our diet. So this is what happens through millions of years, and this is what happens after 28 years. So unfortunately, instead of basically growing the other way, we are becoming wider. And then, so these are the fake evidence about nutrition. We all in South Africa, so you all know our world best known scientist, Professor Tim Noakes. He wrote this book, Law of Nutrition, and he is basically last month, I think it was, he was recognized as a world top scientist in the field of nutrition and sports medicine. So these are the fake evidence about nutrition. There is no evidence that saturated fat produces harmful effects in human body. There is no evidence that high carbohydrate diets are healthy. Raising obesity and diabetes follows the promotion of 1977 US dietary guideline. There is no evidence that cereals and grains make us healthier. There is no evidence that eating a low salt diet is healthy. In fact, in some cases, low level of salt basically can make you to become insulin resistant and promote sugar cravings. There is no evidence that eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is healthy for everyone. So much fruits would be harmful for people who are insulin resistant or who have type 2 diabetes. So if you see something is wrong on the outside, you know that something is wrong on the inside, and we should do something about that. So now I did explain these macronutrients to you, and I now just want to take you through how basically they affect your blood sugar levels when we eat food. So literally, we have about, you all heard about the term blood glucose levels or blood sugar levels. So just to give you an understanding, in a normal average person, we have about 5 liters of blood circulating in our system all the time. So just imagine 5 liters of water. And there is specific amount of sugar circulating in our blood system all the time. That amount needs to be regulated all the time. It shouldn't go too high or too low, otherwise it's dangerous for our body. So your bodies can basically secrete hormones, which can bring it back to the normal value. And that amount of sugar is only 5 grams. So if you want to visualize it again, it is 1 teaspoon. So there is only 1 teaspoon of sugar in 5 liters of blood. So if you mix that visualization, that 1 teaspoon of sugar in 5 liters of water, you can't even taste it. So that's how much sugar you have in our blood system. And now imagine what happens if you eat sugary foods and basically the food that can affect your blood sugar level. And basically the wrong conception is that we all think that blood glucose only goes up if you eat something sweet. And we kind of relate that sweet taste to the blood sugar levels, which is not 100% right. So all the carbohydrates basically made out of different molecules of sugar bind together. So when you eat them, they all break down and they all enter our bodies as a glucose or as a sugar. So there is no difference if you eat a piece of bread or you have an ice cream. Your body sees it all the same. So the amount of sugar might be different, but I mean, they all kind of enter your body or your blood system as a sugar, and they all affect your blood glucose levels. Now, what we see is basically with regards to different macronutrients, as you can see here, we have, if you eat fats, it doesn't affect your blood glucose at all. If you eat proteins, you have a slight rise in your blood sugar level. It's not, the spike is not as high, and it will go down over a long period of time. And this is what happens with carbs. So when you eat carbs, about 60 to 90 minutes after you eating the carbohydrate, depending on the type of the carbohydrate, the amount. For example, if you eat fruits and vegetables, it's different to like when you have refined carbs, things like cereal and bread and pasta and things like that. So you have a spike in your blood glucose levels. And this is dangerous for our bodies because we said that blood sugar needs to be regulated all the time. So now what happens is your body secretes a hormone called insulin to lower it down back to the normal. And that high insulin basically can cause a lot of issues in our bodies. So now imagine that you are eating like that throughout the day. So you have cereal for breakfast, you spike your blood glucose, you secrete insulin. As soon as that insulin goes down, you feel hungry again, you eat something again, you kind of go through the same pattern throughout the day. You repeat this pattern every week, you repeat it every month, you repeat it throughout many years. And what happens in your body is if on day 1, you needed this much of insulin to overcome that spike, as you go further, you need more and more and more and more insulin. And finally, over a very long period of time, I'm talking about 20 years, 30 years, depending on your genetics, you get to the stage that your body can't, the insulin that your body produces cannot overcome your blood glucose levels. And that's where we say you are insulin resistant. It is like you are taking, for example, Panado for headache every day. If you have it for like 3 weeks, 1 Panado is not effective. You're going to increase the dose, make it 2. After a few weeks, again, that Panado is not effective at all. So you switch to stronger medication. You might switch to injections, and it just goes on and on and on. So you basically just go through stronger medication, and you haven't basically looked at the root cause of that. So the same thing happens in the body. So this is a carbohydrate cycle when you eat carbs and specifically refined carbs. So you eat the carbohydrates here, you have a spike in your blood sugar level, you secrete insulin. When this insulin is high throughout the day, it kind of has an effect on your blood sugar level. So what happens, it takes all that extra glucose in your blood system, it will take it into your liver, and it will convert it into your fat, and then you will kind of store it as a fat tissue in your body. So all that extra sugar, you actually store it as a fat tissue. So this is what happens. Your body will be put into fat storage mode if you have chronically high insulin levels. So as soon as this sugar is out of your blood system, because it has a quick spike and then it goes down very quickly as well. then your body basically, when your blood sugar drops, you feel hungry again, and the cycle kind of continues. And then you kind of also affects your appetite control hormones. You feel hungry quicker, you eat the wrong food, and this cycle goes on and on and on. And that is how we actually gain weight. So now, let me just go to the other one. So when we talk about insulin resistance, I said that like eating so much of refined carbs can affect your blood sugar level, you will become insulin resistant. But this is not going to happen for everybody. We all know that there is not a certain one diet that can fit everybody in the population. We all have different bodies, different genetics, different environments. But in general, we have two types of people. We have people who are carbohydrate tolerant and people who are carbohydrate intolerant. If you are carbohydrate tolerant, you can probably eat a little bit more of the carbs and they won't cause issues in your bodies. It is like a food intolerance. So carbohydrate intolerance is the same story. You just have issues when you eat carbs. So now, if you are carbohydrate tolerant, and this is basically how you can test it. So there is a HbA1c, which is showing how your body metabolize glucose over a 3-month period. So if that value is below 4.5, that means you are carbohydrate tolerant. You probably can eat a lot of carbs and you won't gain weight, you won't become insulin resistant, but those are usually athletes or people who have normal body weight. That is only about 25%, 30% of the population. And 70% of the population have issues when they eat a lot of carbs. And you can, as I said, you can kind of see it with HbA1c level. And this insulin resistance is a root cause of so many other diseases because it can cause inflammation in the body. And basically, if you don't stop it there, you can actually reverse it completely. So if you don't stop it there, these are the consequences of insulin resistance: hypertension, obesity, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, cancer, gallstone disease, kidney issues. And what we kind of see is what happens on top of the surface, and we don't see what is really causing it. So we kind of try and look at the symptoms and manage them with medication. But if the root cause is still there and you haven't addressed the root cause, which is you can address it with nutrition, you just gonna go from one medication to the other one to the other one. So this insulin resistance will turn into type 2 diabetes in about 15 years. And then, so that is not good. So basically, this is the medical consequences of high insulin levels and high carbohydrate diet in people who are carbohydrate sensitive, as I said, which is about 90% of the 70% of the population. The other issue with carbohydrates and those refined carbohydrates is they have addictive properties. So sugar is basically if you eat a lot of sugar, the more you have it, the more you want it. It is kind of, you become addicted to it. Why? Because when you eat sugar, you like it, you crave it. It has addictive properties. Your blood sugar levels spike, your dopamine is released in your brain, and it basically affects the same part of the brain that alcohol or drugs can affect. And basically after that, your blood sugar levels drop, you again crave it. That wrong thing, which is basically sugar or carbs, as I said, they also convert into sugar. You crave it again because your blood glucose drops, your insulin drops, and then you kind of eat it again. And the more you eat this, the more you want it. And the more you stay away from it, then the less you are going to crave it. So this is basically the sugar addiction. So just to put it all together, we used to eat real foods long time ago, not actually very long, maybe 100 years ago. So if you eat real food, we won't have all these metabolic disease of obesity, dementia, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and many others. But with our modern industrial diet, this is what the consequence is going to be. And then when that dietary guideline came, as I mentioned to you in 1970s, we've been encouraged to eat very little fat, and people tend to eat all these low-fat, fat-free products. And fat is something that is very tasty, actually. If you take it out of your food, you take a lot of taste with it, so the food doesn't taste nice. So the food industry had to come up with a solution to make the food palatable in order for people to buy it more. And they found a very harmful ingredient, which was sugar. And now they put sugar into everything. So literally whatever comes in a box or packet, specifically if it's labeled as low fat, fat free, they definitely has sugar in them. So just try and stay away from anything labeled fat free or low fat products. For example, if you look at milk, all the nutritional value of the milk is in that fat. And fat, there is a lot of fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, K. And the only way you can get it through your diet is basically by eating some healthy fat. Otherwise, there's no ways you can get them through your body. And now this year, with regards to COVID, there are so many people who are supplementing with vitamin D, but there is no point if you have that vitamin D without a fatty food, your body is not going to be absorbed it. So yeah, the other issue with all these refined carbs is that we basically, with the technology going forward, we basically try and our agricultural engineering, they kind of change the genes in our basically wheat and rice and all those sort of things. And this is the wheat we had about 100 years ago, and this is the wheat we have today. So they basically literally change it over time with mutagenesis. So we can get a lot more wheat out of one plant. They add pesticides, chemicals, everything into it. So this is basically the wheat we consume today has been genetically modified. It's not the same thing as we used to have 100 years ago. And that's why we have so many people who are gluten sensitive, have celiac disease and all those kind of things. So this is also something else, more specifically with regards to wheat, because that is the most dangerous one. But there is also other, as Jessica talked about, toxic load. We have a lot of toxic in our environment. So we breathe it in, we eat it through our food, so it is a lot of toxic that we get in. There is additives, preservatives, chemicals in our food, as well as that gluten. So every time you eat gluten, that gluten can cause microscopic tears in your gut lining, as you can see it here. But your body has the ability to heal that microscopic tears. But if you overuse it, like if you have gluten every single day, I'm talking about, again, long period of time, what happens is the same thing. Your body loses its sensitivity to heal these microscopic tears. And what happens is then they start getting bigger and bigger. And then that is what we call leaky gut syndrome. So then everything from your gut can leak into your blood system. So we have the gut, there is basically gut lining or gut barrier, which kind of regulates what should go from your gut to your blood system. And there are a lot of things that shouldn't go to your blood system. There is bad bacteria, there is gluten, there is toxins, chemicals. They kind of need to get out of your body. They shouldn't go into your blood system. And then when you have leaky gut, so then what happens is, because they're not supposed to be there, your body sees it as a foreigner, and then you produce an autoimmune reaction to get rid of that extra thing in your blood system. And basically, that's how we get all these autoimmune diseases. So celiac disease is one of them. There is thyroid issues. There is, what is that? Rheumatoid arthritis and a lot of other basically autoimmune disease. They all start in the gut. And then your gut can affect your whole body. We have a term that your gut is your second brain, actually. It can, if you don't have a healthy gut, it can cause depression, anxiety. It can affect your thyroid, joints, and basically every single organ in your body. It can even affect your skin. So that's why it is important to look after your gut. The other thing which is causing a lot of problem in our, with regards to our health, is all these highly processed vegetable oils. I don't know why do they call it vegetable oils. Vegetables don't really have oils, so these are seed oils. Things like sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil, those are not healthy oils. Why? First of all, because they are highly processed. What does it mean? So if you want to get the oil out of something, let's say out of a seed, if you have, for example, olive, you can press it between your finger. You can see there is some oil coming out. So to get the oil out of olive, it's not really difficult. They just do a cold press, they get a lot of oil out. Or they can add a little bit of heat and then they can extract more. Or then you can add even some chemicals and then you get a whole lot of oil out, but then the quality is different. So the cold press extra virgin olive oil is probably the best one because it is only cold press. So you get little oil and it's very high quality. And then with regards to all these sunflower, canola, those seed oils, grapeseed oil, cottonseed oil, soy oil. So what happens is they can't get any oil by just doing a cold press. So they add a lot of heat. They also add chemicals to get more and more oil out. And that's why the oil is very cheap. So they get a whole lot of oil out by doing all those presses. So what happens during those whole process of adding heat, there is a lot of fats which can convert into a trans fat. So trans fat is a bad fat that can cause cancer and cardiovascular diseases. And that's a fat that we actually need to stay away from. So all these vegetable oils have a lot of trans fat. That is one issue. They're highly processed, the second issue. And the third issue is that high omega-6 content. So you all kind of familiar with omega-3, omega-6. They have completely different or opposite actions in our bodies. Omega-6 can cause a lot of inflammation, and we do need a little bit of inflammation. That is part of our immune body reaction to the harm. So if you sprain your ankle, there is inflammation. So what that inflammation tells you is that, well, you should then move, you should leave me to heal because it is inflamed. It is also painful, so it prevents you from doing that, and it can tell you that there is a harm. And then, but if you have too much of it, basically too much of inflammation is also not good. It can cause mental health issues, and basically it doesn't make your, let your brain function properly. And then we have omega-6, which is a very healthy oil. It is good for a healthy brain function, for your memory, and it is anti-inflammation. So if there is even like, if there is an omega that you would like to supplement on, that would be omega-3 and not the omega-6. Now we have different ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 in our bodies, which needs to be kept there, you know, in order for you to function properly. We need a lot more omega-3 than omega-6. And these vegetable oils are very high in omega-6. So if you use them every day, what happens is you change that ratio. And basically that is why we can see a lot of anxiety and depression and mental health issues these days. It is because of these vegetable oils taking part as well. So this is the guidance from Cancer Association. Basically, that's why you should stay away from these vegetable oils. So these are basically the modern mistakes of nutrition: blaming salt for what the sugar did, blaming fat for what the refined carbs did, blaming butter for what the margarine did, blaming cholesterol for what the inflammation did, blaming eggs for what the toast did, and blaming bacon for what the cereal did. So it's easier, obviously, to build a strong children than to repair broken adults. So you all need to basically look at healthier lifestyles. Even if you have small kids, try and teach them the right thing right from the beginning, because it is much harder to get rid of a bad habit when you get older. And this would be something that they would highly appreciate it, because I have a lot of clients which, like, when you talk to them, they all like, but we grew up this way. Like, don't reward your kids with a chocolate or sweet when they do something like, so they need to have a proper emotional management system in place. So instead of like using food or sweets just to manage their emotions. So if they feel happy, you give them sweet. If they feel sad, you give them sweet, and all those sort of things. As I said last week, you can't buy health. There is no money to be made in selling true health. It cannot be bought. Real food is not a product. We had access to it for millions of years. We are just paying someone for their delivery service. So after all, what should we eat? Okay, eat whole food, real food, as close to the nature as possible. So when I say whole food, it means that if you eat chicken or fish or meat, eat the whole thing. So you can make a bone broth with the bones. You can eat the fat within the food, the skin, everything, because they all have different nutritional value. And when I say eat real food, it means if you eat chicken, it should look like a chicken. Chicken nugget is not a chicken. Fish finger is not a fish. So it should look like real food. Like I get so angry when I see these like vegan biltong and like vegan burger, and they just don't make any sense. You have no clue what is in those products. And I believe if you are vegan, why do you want your food to be labeled as animal food? I mean, so those are basically something which is highly processed. So also follow a lifestyle high in healthy fats and low in carbohydrates. So as I said, the main important ones are those refined carbs, which we need to stay away from. So those sweets and cakes and biscuits and chocolates, basically all these refined flours and breads and pastas, those kind of things, and try and get the carbs from fruits and vegetables, vegetable source, which is a lot more healthier, and it will give you the vitamins and minerals you need. Follow a diet which is basically composed enough of protein, so meat, chicken, fish, eggs, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, vegetables, and fruit. Try and stay away from gluten, added sugar, and refined carbs. That means basically you need to avoid highly processed, fast foods, and packaged foods. So real food doesn't have a label. If you eat meat, you know that is a piece of a cow. If you eat avocado, you can see it. It's avocado. You don't need the ingredient list. But when you get to these packaged foods, with the high list of ingredients, even with the stuff that you can't read and pronounce, then you need to stay away from it. Get rid of additives, chemicals, preservatives, and all these harmful ingredients in your food. And basically, low carb diets basically result in weight loss and improve health markers. Now, with all that we have been said, we might need some help and support. So there are countless factors that contribute to a healthy body. We must manage things like sleep and rest and stress on our bodies and mind, toxins, our environment, and everything else. So the genetic factor is out of your control, but everything else is in our control. So we can still have a lot of control over what we put in our bodies and like how to manage our stress and other things. So there are some focus points which we need to focus on. Basically, we need to focus on digestion. The poor digestion can keep us from basically properly absorbing the vitamins and minerals we put into our bodies, which basically makes it difficult to get the nutrients that we need. It can also make us uncomfortable and miserable, making it even more difficult to basically do things like exercise or to be active. So typically by eating healthy food and drinking adequate amounts of water can do a lot for your digestive system. However, you might need that extra help, and that's where the essential oils come in. So some essential oils have health benefits and digestive benefits. You can help your body to basically to operate as it should and set yourself up for a better basically health journey. There is also metabolism, which we need to focus on. Basically, our metabolism or metabolic rate is basically a series of chemical reactions in our bodies, which can basically break down our food and turn it into energy. An individual's metabolism has a direct connection with their ability to manage their weight. So basically, a lot of it is genetic, but there is also other factors that you can change your based on metabolic rate, and we would like it to be higher. There are several essential oils that are useful to support your metabolism as well. I'm going to go through them later on. Also, you need to basically support your mood, motivation, and that feeling of that I actually can do it. So basically, so much of our health journey is basically relates to energy and mood. When we feel sluggish and we lack enthusiasm, it can be difficult to get moving, to get strict to the routine of regular exercise. When we feel down, discouraged or unmotivated, we might find it very difficult to stick to the certain eating habit. We might not have the motivation to move, and basically it makes it all difficult. So essential oils again come in when taken internally, diffuse aromatically. Some of the essential oils basically can give us the energizing boost that we need before a workout, after a long day of working towards our goals. Some others can be used basically to uplift and calm down and energize or soothe our emotions when we need basically emotional balance in our lives. So I talk about digestion. So Zengest is one of the essential oils that is really, really good for your digestive system. It can help with acid reflux, heartburn, motion sickness, gas. It is really wonderful, and I gave a testimony last week about how my mom used it and how effective it was. So this is a wonderful one to support your digestive system. Specifically, as I said, when we eat a lot of unhealthy stuff throughout the years, it takes time for your digestive system to heal itself. So a little bit of extra support might be helpful, especially if you have any of those feelings. Zendocrine is another one. It is actually a detoxification blend. So it's a good one if you want to start eating healthier and changing your diet or like lifestyle. You basically need to detoxify your body. So this is a very good blend to be used. It can support your kidney, gallbladder, liver. It basically cleans up your body. It supports weight loss, your gut, your hormones and everything. The other one which can support your digestive system is peppermint. We know that peppermint have a lot of other health benefits as well. But basically with regards to your digestive system, it can elevate the stomach upset, bloating. It can soothe your digestive system. It can also help with relieving headaches. It is naturally energizing. So you can diffuse it, have it aromatically, or you can have it internally. Then we get to to the citrus ones. So lemon and wild orange, they all have cleansing properties. They also increase your metabolism with your immune system. The other one is citrus bliss. It's also very similar. So they are also uplifting and energizing. They can reduce stress, anxious feeling, all that. And lime is my favorite one. I really like lime. It is basically also, it is energizing, it is for digestive support, if you feel a little bit sick. So lime is the best one. And I particularly find out these citrus ones like lime, lemon, wild orange, for people who are who can't get rid of all these sugary drinks and soft drinks and things like that, and they are struggling to have water on its own because they want some taste. It really helps just to add a drop of it. You get all the benefits and change the taste of water. And I found that it is very then easy for people to kind of get rid of those sugary drinks. So that is something to add on. Cinnamon bark is the other one, which is really good. It is good for cardiovascular health. It is for your microbial balance. It is basically for blood sugar levels. So yeah, it is a good one. It is, however, a little bit of a hot oil. So you need to be very careful. You can add it in your tea. You can add it in your cooking. You can diffuse it. So that's also the one thing that I like. And then this one, Slim and Sassy, is basically also a metabolic blend, which is specifically made to support your health journey with regard to like nutrition wise and diet wise. So it has got ginger, cinnamon, lemon, peppermint in it. And it is basically can manage cravings. It can manage overeating. It can detoxify and clean your body. It can basically normalize blood glucose levels. And it is just wonderful. And if you open it up, I mean, it smells so nice, so nice. So I love it internally. I basically taste it and I recommend it to my client as well, because it can help. And then Claricalm is the other one. I love this one as well. So specifically for ladies, because during our menstruation, the female body basically tends to experience a lot of discomfort, both emotionally and physically. So you can use Claricalm during your cycle by applying the oil to the abdomen for a calming massage. You can use the aroma of it to soothe unsettled emotions by applying it topically. You can apply a drop to your hand, you can rub it together, and you can basically inhale it for about 30 seconds or more. It can balance your mood throughout the month, not just when you have your cycle. And basically, it also has two cooling effects when some people feel like warm and hot and those hot flashes and all that. So it is basically can manage your emotions and hormones and everything throughout the month. So this is for ladies. And then we talk about our mood. So basically balance and serenity are the ones which can support your mood. They can help you focus. They give you that whole feeling of calmness. They can manage your stress and all that. So these two are very good as well. And then lavender, we're all familiar with lavender, how calming it is. And I had wonderful feedback from my clients, which I gave with samples to them to test out. They were all like, wow, why this one? And they kind of feel it really aids with sleeping and feeling of calmness. Also, you can use essential oils in cooking, which is also very exciting. So there are a lot of them you can use in cooking. There's basil, black pepper, cardamom, clove, lime, lemongrass, lavender, grapefruit, coriander, oregano, all of those. Just some rules for cooking if you are cooking with essential oils, because they are very pure. So it's only 1 drop is all that you need. You don't need too much of it. You also need to dilute it in a carrier oil, and as well as basically if you are using it in cooking, so you need to basically add it right at the end, because we shouldn't expose it to the heat. Otherwise you lose the benefits. And always basically read the bottle and make sure that you are safe to use the essential oil internally. As I said, the food you eat can be either the most and safest, powerful form of medicine, or it can be the slowest form of poison, which can affect your body long term. This is a little cartoon. I love this one. We've exhausted of all conventional measures. One last desperate option is to put you on an alternative natural medicine, which has a 96% success rate. And that is where it comes to our lifestyle and basically stress, exercise, nutrition. holistic approach of all those things together. That's it from me. I hope you all enjoyed and you all learned something from it. I will be staying a little bit longer if anybody has any questions. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. Will you all give her a hand? That was amazing. She's always incredible.
Thank you.
And I know that our time is up, but we are going to stick around. I just want to say to you that next week we're focusing in December on thriving, because there's so many people who are having such challenges in their lives. So this week we were talking about getting healthy and eating right. Next week we've got Lizanne. Lizanne's on the call today. She is a somatologist and she will help you about your skin. So I know there's so many people, whether it's you, somebody you love, care about, or know, that has having an issue with your skin. Lizanne will be sharing her wisdom with us next week, and also sharing how essential oils can help support a really great and healthy skin. Don't miss it. Free online on the same Zoom link, 10 o'clock next week. So you are cordially invited. And I want to say to you that Faranak has shared, we will post it on the chat as soon as we've closed the session. But we can offer you these incredible certified pure therapeutic grade oils at an amazing wholesale price, okay, and provide you with the support systems that you need. So we don't have time to go into it today, but do join us for another class. We do have WhatsApp groups. We have a Facebook group where you can learn more. We have an incredible infrastructure available. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that we have an incredible December special, okay? And we are, oh, it didn't even do its little thing yet. So if you have a look, December special, you can get the oils at 25% discount on their normal prices. But the other blessing is if you order it now in December, you get a free, if you have a home essentials kit, you can get a frankincense, a 15 ml, absolutely free, which is worth in excess of 1,500 Rand. Plus, if you place an order of any one of these large kits, and you order an order next month of 100 PV, you get a free amount, 100 PV, which is equivalent actually to about 3,000 Rand. So between the frankincense and the receiving free product points, we can help you. If you just go back to the person who invited you to this class, please don't hesitate. Call them, contact them, and find out more about how you can access these incredible oils which can be used. And do join us at one of our other classes to learn more about the oils itself. So I'm going to stop the share, and I'm